What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I figured we would do a little bit of a what's in my gear bag kind of a thing, but this is not the stuff I carry on an everyday basis, and most shoots don't require this much. This particular one just so happened to require 3 different cameras, so minus my actual camera that I'm using, the cage, microphone, and the lighting setup that I usually have set up in the office and to do this video. Everything else is still pretty much in the bags from me traveling, which is basically set it on the floor, forget about it, and go get some sleep. So we're snowed in here in St. Louis, so I figured since I gotta pack this stuff down anyway, and I did get some gear from lensrentals.com, so I'll be talking about that as well. I'm not a sponsored video or anything like that, but you're welcome to throw your girl $1 if you want. But no, since I gotta pack some of this stuff down anyway, get ready to send it back and do some videos with some of this stuff, figured why not talk about it. So you're into that, let's get it. Like I said, I don't travel with all of this stuff on a regular basis, but as I'm doing different projects, it requires more stuff, and this just gives me the capacity. This is an Amazon Basics bag. Everything will be linked down below. Gives me the capacity to literally carry everything that I need to in this bag, and then this one over here, which I'll get into a little bit later, will shift over on the floor so you can see what's in that. But this has all of the important things. It stays on my person at all times. But one of the things that I carry with me is one of these memory card cases. And basically what this is you've probably seen some of these in some like other videos before, but it lets me carry all of my memory cards in here, and the ones that are flipped over are the ones that have information on there. Again, just coming from a shoot. This is waterproof, shockproof. It's like got all of the different things, and it's unlike some of the other ones that are more foam like. This one is more rubberized, and it is water sealed, so once it closes, it has a rubber sealing so it doesn't get any water. I don't have to worry about moisture and all of that stuff, even spills in the bag, not necessarily being in the rain. So that's why I like that. So what kind of cards do I use? I like to use SanDisk. They are my preferred brand. This is one of the small ones at 128 gigabytes. And you may say, that's small. And I would say yes, because when you're doing 4K files, just a mixture of 4K and 1080p at 50 megabits per second, 100 megabits per second. If you have a camera that does 200 or 400 megabits per second, then all of that stuff adds up in English to more data equals needing more space. So I'll use the SanDisk Extreme Pros, and I'll use the SanDisk Extreme. Oh, that's also why you want them, because they're shockproof and all of that. Shockproof, X-ray proof, and all of that different stuff. So minus keeping a few of some of these smaller ones. So like you'll see these little ones in here. That is really just for audio, and I'll get into that in just a second, because sometimes they can't take like the really huge cards. And for 16 gigabytes on an SD card for audio in MP3 format, like that'll give you over like 300 hours worth of recording time. So you don't really need big cards for that. But I'll keep some of those for little stuff like that. But I'm getting ready to retire any 64 gigabyte cards like I'm using in this video, and I'll just kind of keep it for one-off stuff like this. But yeah, so I'm upgrading to all. Everything should be like the 64s should at least be replaced with 128s, and all the 128 gigabyte cards should be replaced with 256, and all the 256 cards could be replaced with the 512 gigabyte cards, and that's going to be expensive. So let's go into my mini bags that I kind of carry with me as well. And so prepare yourself. So I'll come back to this in a second. That's just my little vlogging stick. But essentially, minus a little disorganization, currently this is my audio bag. And my audio bag basically is a little LED light. So if I need just something that's kind of like on camera, then I can use that, put some gels in between there, adjust the brightness to make it brighter. That's really bright, and just like it works. And it's USB rechargeable. I love that. But I'll have this bag because literally you never know what you're going to need when it comes to audio. But I promise you're going to wish you had it. And when you're traveling several 100,000 miles, not even 100,000 miles, but just, I don't even know what it would be, several thousand miles, okay? And then plus some, because I'm going out the country later in 2020. Like you don't want to have to buy something. You don't want to have to get something shipped. I bring all my things that are important. 2 is 1 and 1 is none when it comes to any kind of gear. You got one camera, that camera gets busted, you don't have a camera. You need a cable, that cable gets messed up, or you need it to do some creative cabling, you don't have another cable. Like 2 is 1, 1 is none. Extension cables, extra lapel mics, extra wind muffs, extra adapters, stuff over here for the Rode Wireless Go, pouches for that, filters, all kinds of stuff. One of these, which is super handy, which is basically dropping things. I don't know how this video probably isn't going to be that polished. So there's that. So I have this SanDisk. I think that's upside down, but it's basically a memory card reader that goes in via USB, and it is USB 3.0. So why is this important if you have maybe some other one that came with a camera gear bag or something like that? Because when you are looking at these read and the write speeds, WRITE speeds on your memory cards, those are not going to get that fast in just like a basic whatever kind of a like if I just popped it in a laptop, it may not get that fast. SanDisk will tell you on the box that if you use this thing, basically their brand of it, that's the way to achieve like the top highest levels that the card can do. And so I already have one slot on my computer. I use an older MacBook Pro, but I want to make sure if I need to read 2 cards at once, I want to get the best speeds possible. And so you tack that on with the USB 3.0, you're going to get the fastest speeds that card can send that information from the card to the computer, so that stays in my gear bag as well. I love this. I got this a long time ago at the recommendation from my brother from another mother, Sean Cannell, and that hurt. It pops out, but it's a gray card so that you could white balance, and then you also have white. I don't understand the science behind it, but gray works. And yeah, it takes up no space. It folds up like this, goes back into the sleeve, and that stays in my audio accessory gear bag / thingy baba. In addition to some Samsung SSD portable hard drives. I keep these in there all the time. They go from 250 gigabytes up to 2 terabytes. And when you hear people talk about basically, editing off of an SSD, what that means is that your computer can only do so much. These SSDs can hold more data, transfer that data back and forth faster than probably what your computer would do. And so if you can either, let's not get that techie into it. You can just edit from the SSD. It's faster than what your computer would do. Better than the HDD or the ones that have the spinning disk in there, because that can break your files up and desync your audio and video, and that really sucks. That's that. Moving on. So for me, I like these power banks. I'm not particular on the brand as long as it does what I need it to do, and this one even has a nice little light on there. If you could see that, it's not on. Yep, now it's on. Nice little light that you can see there as well. But this will last me 3 days. This will last me a long time. On my phone, that is. On a camera, even better. It has the speed charging on there. 2 different thingy bobbers on there for you to charge. And so I use this one. It's like 10,400 milliamps. This one is 15,600 milliamps. And basically, if I needed to recharge my camera batteries, and I'll get into this in a second, or I want to run the camera off of a battery bank, anything that I need portable power for, I'm using something like this. Next thing is going to be power adapters and batteries. So with that, I like these K-Star slim battery thingies, because whether I'm using the M50 or whether I'm using for my Sony batteries, I don't take 87 small batteries and it's just like, oh, the battery. Most people like that. I don't. I'm a female, so I carry a bag like a purse or something. I'll take one of these. I already have my battery bank, and I'll just charge it. It charges via USB. You charge it in your car, you charge on the plane, you charge in the airport, it doesn't matter. And I'll just attach this to one of these ports on here and toss it back in the bag. And when one battery goes, I'll just get the other one and throw the other one back on the charge. I've only ever carried one other bag, with the exception of extra stuff in this one, just in case, so I know that I don't have to worry about it. But even with the A6400, I don't worry about that, simply because it runs off of USB like it can, So I technically don't even need to swap batteries. I rarely have to swap batteries as long as I have a battery bank on me. And I have a smaller one of these that I keep on either the tripod, or I can keep this one that's just like, this is like $3. This is 4,400 milliamps. And so I'll put this in my pocket and run the USB off of it, and I never have to swap the battery. So I carry battery banks. So that's my other thing. USB batteries, or not batteries, just rechargeable batteries. I don't like to throw away batteries. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to use the good stuff. So rechargeable batteries. That's the thing. So this particular shoot required that I use lapel microphones just for the setting and the client's preference. But I did bring backup microphones. And so my ATR 2100 Samsung Q2U, which has the XLR port at the bottom there. Basically, regular podcasting microphones, the stands and all that's in the other bag, but I brought it just in case we get too bad interference and all of that. So I already did the podcast for the Video Simplified podcast, so my other microphone is already out, but I'm going to get some brand of microphones. I haven't decided quite on what yet. If I want to get 2 Samsung Q2Us, which is what I'm thinking, since those are running for like $44 now, and just have those, since I don't want one gray and one brown, and I just want the colors to be the same. So I'm probably going to get 2 Samsung Q2Us just for, when I'm hired to do stuff like that. So if the client doesn't have one, they already have the microphone set up situation. So that was just in a pinch to make sure I had those. Man, when I say I fell in love, and I don't fall in love with audio things for real because it can get too technical, but this is the Zoom H6, and this thing, y'all, when I say it's freaking magic. Okay, most audio interfaces or whatever, the screens suck because it looks like an old school Game Boy, not a Game Boy Color, not a Game Boy Advance, and a Game Boy SP, none of that. Okay, this one doesn't. The interface looks normal. And so this also it can run off USB, which I like, and it can also take 4 batteries, which is why I had batteries, so I just kept those rechargeable, and I can top those off, which I like. I like renewable resources. So it takes the 4 XLR ports on each side, and you've probably seen one of these before. It can have additional audio modules at the top. But I like it because I can adjust everybody's specific audio as I'm listening to it. There's a headphone jack, volume, all the hashtag, all the things on here that you could possibly want. But this is better than the H4N that I had before. The H5 only has like 2, and yeah, you can add stuff on the top. I don't really like that. I want it already there, so I can just turn it on, off, just love it. Amazing thing about this, and I think this is probably for most audio recorders like this, you can not just record the audio onto the recorder, but you can also send the audio out through this line out on the bottom and send it directly into the camera, so that you're not only recording audio here, but even if the card gets full, if the card gets corrupt or whatever, there is audio always coming out to a secondary source. And that's how I ran as a backup for this last shoot. And it worked amazing because, again, should anything happen to the card, there's always clean and good audio onto the Sony camera, which gave amazing preamps and it sounds really, really good. I have no complaints about that. Other thing is that my lighting kit, I'm not going to go too in details, but it's in the other bag, but it has like a traditional light stand and all of that. But the cool thing is the 2 panels, one I'm using right now, but the 2 panels can go right here in this laptop area, and they're awesome. I love it. And so it can run off of those big Sony batteries, but what I really like is that you can hook up to like 8 of these or more, and it gets insane what you can do with these. But basically, like, this is the remote. I can adjust the temperature so I can make it warmer or cooler, or I can turn it on or off, as you can see what the difference the light makes, and I can adjust all of that, and you can see, okay, hopefully you can kind of see that. Try not to get my reflection, but basically let me turn this light back on. But basically I can adjust the temperature and the brightness, and I can turn that down some. If like I notice that I'm getting too bright, I can turn it down, I can turn it up, all of it. I can adjust the multiple groups So many things amazing. Love it. Let's get to the cameras and the lenses. When it comes to the shoot, yes, the A6600 came out, and I cannot wait to get my hands on one. I'm thinking about renting one, but I kind of don't want to, because that's money that I could put towards something else. And in St. Louis, it's tax time, and my life right now. No complaints. But I use three Sony A6400s, correction, because I use my own as well. And again, rented this from Lens Rentals. And so reason why I use two A6400s versus anything else is because, one, I know for a fact that this is a system that works. I've used this when I've done other shoots as well, and unlimited recording time. You can also get, it's just like, one, address the elephant in the room, no overheating issues on the A6400, A6600, and all that stuff. And when it comes to like power and the battery and all of that stuff, in here I have two of my own, it's a lot with this stuff, so heavy, power adapter systems that work and just are wall adapters. And so I got these brand new. They were marked used because they were out of the original packaging, so I got it for steal. Literally, these cables had never been unwound. So this is completely brand new. But I actually got the Sony branded ones just because, one, for as long as I'm recording for client work. For me, it's okay if I'm using something cheaper or whatever the case is. But one, these aren't my cameras. And then two, just to like honor any clients that I'm working with, I'm not going to give them like cheap stuff. I'm going to give them the quality stuff as well. So I use actual Sony branded stuff for those kind of shoots. So for my uses, I actually don't need full frame. I don't prefer full frame, honestly. I love APS-C. And for those of you that may be confused on sensor sizes and all of that, just think about it in French fries. You have small, medium, and large. Small French fries is going to be your micro four thirds sensor sizes. They're really tiny. And then you have APS-C, which are the medium sizes. Right? This is normal, and this is actually very similar to what's called Super 35 that people use for movies and cinema cameras and all of that stuff. They're not really using full frame. They're using Super 35 sensors, so it's the exact same size. So it's like, if it works for the film industry, why wouldn't it work for me? So that's just kind of my thinking, and I prefer camera body sizes like this. I've tried the A7 III. It's too big. I don't like it. And so it's a great camera. I have no real complaints about it. Just my personal preference. So me getting the A6600 and another A6400 is solely because when next year I know that I'm going to be doing more handheld work and all of that, I don't want to be locked into just using a camera that only has lens stabilization. Everybody kind of knows Sony doesn't have great built-in in-body image stabilization, and that's fine. But when you couple that with a lens, like I have these 35mm f1.8 lenses that are freaking amazing, that I love. I don't want to be locked into only using lenses that have that. I want IBIS and lens stabilization, just even if it's a minimal increase, and for the headphone jack built in, because it's not so much so just hearing that the levels are okay, but making sure you don't have any buzzing, any audio interference, just even on a shotgun microphone, not a wireless system, none of that, but just regular uses of the camera. You can it sucks to get that buzzing in an audio. So other lens, oh, I'm so feeling some kind of way about sending this back. This is the Tamron 28-75 f2.8 lens. This lens is butter. I freaking love it. I didn't think, now like 35 is my preferred lens size already. Like a 35mm lens is already my personal favorite. So I don't use anything like, I'm not into the 50mm, which that kind of converts when you convert it to full frame. I don't even care about all that. Like, that's the thing. Some of the stuff I do, as much as I'm in video, I don't care about the standards and whatever. So 35 is my favorite. I didn't think 28, I just got it for this project, and I'm thinking, okay, that's a zoom lens. It doesn't have any kind of lens stabilization in there, so any handheld shots I would have to be careful with, need to use a tripod or whatever, which we'll get into these. But I'm just looking like 28 is going to work. It's just wide enough, slightly under 35. I could crop in if I need to, or zoom in for longer shots if I needed to. But this lens is just, I'm gonna have to do a whole video on this before I send it back. I don't want to give this back to them. I don't. Like, Tamron did an amazing job with this, and they have a 17 to 28. We're gear talking. I don't know how long the video is. I don't care. Okay, this is my show. So they have a 17 to 28 or 17. Yes, I think it's a 17 to 28 or something like that lens, just like this. Doesn't have stabilization, but again, with the A6600, see where I'm going with this? I wouldn't need it. It wouldn't matter. But this is a good lens. It feels good in the hand. Yeah, the zoom ring is up here. The zoom ring is up here, but the focus ring is back here. But that kind of works a little bit better, because let me put this on here and I'll show you. So when you have this on this lens like this, and you're not going to need to like continuously focus all the time, and so the more that you're out here, the more that you're kind of breaking that stabilization that you would have, or kind of like that grip or that position that you have to just kind of get the shot. And then people talk about the flip up screens. I like the A6400s because I'm getting level with this body up here, whereas the other ones might be down here when they flip out because it doesn't go all the way up. These come up, so I'm not having to look down as much. And so if I'm looking like this, I don't want to kind of have to, you know, be out here focusing. If I don't have to, it's fine. It's not a thing. It just means I can get in tighter if I'm back here and I'm not having to move as much. Also, you can use like your middle finger to kind of do it. It's really smooth. This is like just a boss setup. So I'm imagining the A6600 lens stabilization on some lenses, like a 16 to 35, or even if I get the 17 to 28, that's cheaper. It's only $800. Then it's like magic. Okay, it's gonna be magical. So I was just playing around with that just to kind of experiment that, because I'm knowing I'm gonna do a whole video about this, and I probably should stop talking about it. But it focuses so close, and I was just playing with my new Storm action figures that I found in Iowa, that my friends found for me, and just did a little short. Rode Wireless Go systems. Yeah, amazing. I'm looking at some of the other ones, but it's kind of like they're on the same 2.4 gigahertz frequency or whatever. So it's just like, meh. In the bag, I did use some of these Trio Pole tripods, which basically, do I have to open it? Basically, it's a tripod. The legs come down and they click, and the center column moves up and down. But I will show you the hack of what I do with my stuff, and that is this tripod head. So most people have these Arca Swiss plates that kind of like slide forwards and backwards and all of that. I don't care for that personally. So what I did was I put my own mounting plate on there. When I'm vlogging, I use a Manfrotto Pixie, and I don't want to have to switch and unscrew and all that. Like, I tried all that stuff before. I don't like it. So this is just a camcorder type of mounting plate. It is all metal and all of that. But what happens is, once I pop this out, then it stays open, right? But this is all that I need to put on one of those. It fits your standard thing. So here's the Manfrotto, here's my mounting plate, and all I need to do is screw this on here. So I can literally take the camera from the tripod back to here, and it literally just clicks in. It's hard to press. Yep, it's hard to press. And all I have to do is click it into place, that snaps in, and that's it. And that's all that's in the bag. A lot of things, a lot of stuff. This bag is very simple. I actually don't even want to get into it. There's only one piece that I am going to talk about. But this is basically the Viltrox bag that the lights came in. So light stands and tripod stands on one side, all the cables and accessories and stuff like that on the other side. But this is a softbox light kit, so I don't just use these LED panels just straight on because it'll be too harsh. And even this light that I'm using is not just straight on, it's using a softbox light panel. And I've talked about this on my Instagram stories and all this stuff before, so if you follow me on Instagram at Gladney, then you would see that. But this is the defuse thing, and hopefully it doesn't fly out my hand and knock over my coffee or anything like the other one did. So basically, you see how small this is? I have small hands, right? So I'm gonna try not to knock things over and do this at the same time so you can see it. Okay, try to control this a little bit. Oh, so this one ain't as bad as the little one, but basically a softbox kit in a little circle. So it literally goes from this size to this size. And basically there's these little magnets on here, and then you just slide it down and it stays up and popped up like that. And so it gives me just enough depth to keep the light soft, but then when I'm done using it, oh, now it's time to refold. Folds back into a circle. I can toss it back in the bag, and that's my softbox lighting kit. Yeah, and it needs nothing. So whereas before I had these huge softbox lights that took up a ton of space, literally as big as my arm, the bulb literally as big as my arm, and whereas now it's just this. And so that's kind of why I haven't done any like my office setup. I don't know what questions you may have because I was pretty descriptive in some of this stuff, but I mean, if you can think of something that maybe I didn't think of, I'll try to remember to link. Obviously not all these cables and cords and stuff, but the big stuff like these things that I'm using, all the equipment that I use. I don't think the battery banks will be linked down below, but other than that, I'll link to something similar. But other than that, guys, live with passion. I'll see you on the next video. Hope you enjoy. Merry Christmas to you. Peace out.